action, and I want to hear more about that. In particular, the three speeding tickets.
Oh, damn. All right. So, in Abu Dhabi, the you know the sheiks, the royal families, everybody who can afford to create this world that they want to live in, they all live in Abu Dhabi, and so they're able to say, okay, we're gonna create an island in the middle of the ocean, and we're gonna make it our sports island. And that's what they're doing, and that's where the location is for Surf Abu Dhabi, the big Kelly Slater wave. But they also have mountain biking. They created this whole sports island, and on the island, it's still under construction. And what happened was, I guess I was going a little bit too fast, and I think the speed limit is 25 miles per hour on the entire island, and I was going maybe 30. So that one bit me in the butt. Um,
You got
the
to be
wave
careful
itself,
with converting miles per hour to kilometers per hour.
yeah, I changed because I usually have my Google Maps on, so I made sure that kilometers. It was just it's so hard to go 25 miles per hour.
Oops. All right, Sammy Hagar.
So the wave pool, we'll save that. I mean, I can spend a whole hour talking about it, but I will say this: it is you do need to tweak your writing just a bit because the wave is breaking at an angle, but your all your senses are telling you to go against that. So yeah, we'll next week I'll pull up some clips and we can talk about it and I can show you how different it is. But it is definitely something to put on your bucket list because it is freaking pretty perfect. It's not cheap though, so make sure you put aside a lot of money before you go out there.
Not a little bit, a lot.
Yeah.
All right, so that's a deal. Next week we go heavy into the wave pool action in Abu Dhabi, and we'll go heavy into what I wanted to touch upon, the Virginia Beach Wave Garden. Jay and Vicky Reel organized a Virginia is for Spongers group, and it was basically a U.S. East Coast All-Star session. Guys like Ricky Miller, Mike Strawley, you pull a name from the East Coast, and chances are they were there. There's video available on YouTube to check it out, but we'll go more in depth on that. But I let those guys know. Next time they plan a trip, let me know. I'm itching for some barrel time, and I will gladly jump into a Virginia wave pool to get it done.
Yeah, and I saw videos and photos of it. It's actually looks pretty fun. So, I mean, is there any sign of when that would happen?
There's talk of maybe a Thanksgiving slash Black Friday weekend, but nothing has been confirmed as of yet. But they put it in my ear, so I'm already game planning for it.
Awesome. All right, hope you can make that one.
And to make things more interesting, they have a pro level setting that requires a helmet to be worn.
Oh, damn. Yeah, those things are, I mean, we forget they're concrete bottoms. There's zero give. If you eat shit, you're gonna hit the reef. You're gonna hit concrete.
Well, I've been saying for a while now, I don't bounce like I did when I was 19, but I'm doing my best to put a little bounce back in me.
Yes, sir. Oh yeah.
So, all right. So, with us touching on the wave pool stuff and saving the majority of that for next episode, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this episode.
Oh
Oh
boy.
Lord.
All right, I think we need to set the stage. And we're just going off of what we've heard and what we've seen. I can lay it out there. Jackson, I don't know how much you know. Nunito, I don't know how much you know, but just from what I've been able to piece together, is there was a heat that was had. The winner won, the loser lost. There's no changing that. Even if the missed wave that happened was a 10-point ride, the winner still would have won and the loser still would have lost. That's what happened in that heat. Then what happened was there was a protest because third place um, did have a wave that was missed and it was caught on the live feed. And And so that's when decisions had to be made.
I'm not sure. Just let me do a
No,
remark.
please, you guys
I'm
come
not
in.
sure if it was caught on live feed of some cameraman at the wave. I'm not
Okay.
100% sure about that. So
Jackson, do you know anything about this?
I don't have any details on that. All I really
Okay.
saw was the statement released by the IBC World Tour explaining the situation, that there was a missed wave. They had a meeting with the riders and decided to rerun the heat. One of the riders opted not to partake in the redo, if you will, and that's as far as I really saw. I was kind of frustrated by it, but that can't even compare to what I would imagine the judging staff was feeling with that whole situation. Because in all of our years of working World Tour events, um, I can't remember at any given time where an event on the World Tour has had this happen. I've never even experienced this on a national or local level. So, and we know the caliber of judges that are involved. I mean, Chico Garitano runs a pretty tight ship. I have a world of respect for what he does and the way he does it. But as I mentioned to you in a private text message, it just goes to emphasize and reinforce just how extremely important the spotter is. Because the spotter is the one who's supposed to be calling out waves, calling out jersey colors, and keeping the judges abreast, especially in a rapid fire wave exchange where rides can get lost in the mix like it did here.
Yeah, I mean, there's two jobs that they're thankless jobs. You got the beach marshal who's handing out the jerseys, but also handing out the criteria and the rules that are at hand, and the spotter. You're right, the spotter. We don't know. We weren't in the booth, and we don't know what really happened. But yeah, decisions had to be made as they could not put the whole event on pause. So the protest was made. Goes unprecedented, and also what another factor was, you had the rider rep in right in the thick of it, and that's what made this whole thing complicated. So, I mean, I only know what I know. My opinions I can hold off and tell you at the end, but Jackson, Nunito, like, what do you guys feel? What do you guys know? What do you guys think?
Well,
it's
Nunito's our guest, so I'm going to let him jump on this first.
yeah, I'll do. I'll guess that to start with, the situation is very complicated. And then a mistake was made. And when we do a mistake, especially in international level sport, you should make sure that the mistake stops there and it's corrected. And it looks like the decision in between of what might have happened, because we don't know all the facts, is right now after the error occurred. And okay, judges missed the wave. We're only human. We're allowed to make mistakes. There was a lot of comment over how could five judges plus especially a spotter or everyone else that might be in the booth did not see the wave, but that could happen also. Nothing is impossible. But then what happened after that? And this is what let the door open for all of this chaos between especially riders, which is super ugly, should promote a healthy competition in a healthy environment. And as the IBC claimed in their statement, they want fairness and transparency. So I do believe that a lot of people thought it was not fair, starting with the winner of the heat. Amori also in an interview admitted that he might have made a mistake in that regard by accepting to go. And there it looks like this went downhill because emotions are at the side of the skin, and their competitors eye blood level. Of course Samori took the opportunity to jump in, and then as a rider's rep is stuck between an error that he did not provoke, and now from this time he has responsibility. looks like the panel of judges and the head of judges have a responsibility. The promoter, of course, I'm following the rule book that I have opportunity to study a little bit. The promoter of the event, and of course someone, the director of the event, and someone in the IBC. These are the four votes, let's call it like this, that can have a voice to discuss something that occurs in the competition. From there, we don't know what happened. We're still waiting to know who took the final decision. Was it a majority between these four? Did one person take that decision? And the decision that was made, once again, was another error that accumulated to start with. Okay, once again, we're all humans, make errors. But as we going and committing errors, we should at some time stop. Hey, second error, maybe a third one is going to come. Let's think about it and discuss this. And for me, it was pretty simple. If one athlete protested against the reserve, it should have been another meeting saying, okay, we're not reaching a consensus. What is the fair, transparent, healthy environment way to do it? And basically, this is what we don't know. And expectations went off the roof, you know, making probably Amori the big scapegoat and the victim here, which is not fair, leaving him alone to take the blame. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that he was caught holding the the short end of the stick because a lot of people from all the comments I've been reading were pointing the finger, but in the end it wasn't his choice. It was a decision made, but that's the thing. We don't know who made that final decision. Um, but to not show up to your heat because it wouldn't have made a difference if that person protesting got a 10-point ride. Of course, he's not going to show up. He thought it was, not right in his book. But that just led to, things eventually snowballing to somebody making the decision to, yes, let's rerun the heat. And of course, the person who got first didn't show up. Of course, the person protesting was ready to go. The person who got last, Maz, he's ready to go again. And the person in second, unfortunately, in the rerun, did not make it through. So it's
And he accepted to do the research.
and he did decide.
He accepted the decision.
Okay, yeah, because he would have been let's say the Jonathan Vega would have got a 10-point ride on that missed wave. It would have made a difference, but we don't know what that score would have had to have been for him to get into that second place spot in the very end of that missing wave
I think it was 686, if I'm not mistaken.
was what he needed.
Yeah.
So was that wave that he missed the 6.86? The question is, Jackson, Nunito, did you guys agree with the decision? And if you don't, what options were there?
Jackson,
Well,
you want to jump in
honestly,
and
honestly, if they were following the guidelines that are established in the rule book, then and majority of the writers agreed to rerun the hit, that is the decision that was made. Unfortunately, maybe that rule needs to be re-examined. Um, Overall, my reaction to this whole thing was as soon as I saw the public statement released by the IBC World Tour, I just shook my head and my immediate response was, you got to be fucking kidding me. Excuse my language. And I'm not going to sit here and throw anybody under the bus because I have way too much respect for the judges on the World Tour. We've worked with them in the past. We've traveled with them. We've gotten to know them very well over the years. They carry themselves with an extreme level of professionalism. And, nothing like this has ever happened before. Like you said, unprecedented. I will say this, having been extremely critical of the IBC World Tour, this does not help things. This is just the latest black eye for the World Tour. And, how they proceed from this point forward, I'm really curious to see how it all plays out.
I mean, uh, I read some of the lines of the rule book. Nonito's been digging in really deep with it, but it seems like the decisions were made based on what was possible through the rule book. But if it's going to take if one person not showing up to the heat isn't a sign that something has to change, then we're missing an opportunity to better the rule book and the world tour in itself. So, I mean,
Well,
what do
think
you
of
think,
this.
Nonito?
Think of this. If one rider decides not to show up and partake in the rerunning of the heat, that's basically silent protest. Yeah, that's a almost stands as a vote of no confidence. I'm not showing up for this heat. I'm not paddling out. I don't agree with the situation. You know, sometimes actions without words speaks volumes. And
Yeah,
that's how I took that.
yeah, agreed.
And that's what actually Stefan did.
Yep.
That's what he did. He did not show up. And yeah, then raises a lot of questions and we follow through the rabbit hole. There's like I'm gonna try and I always practice this mantra is like I'm gonna try and put myself in the shoes of whoever made the decision, and I'm assuming already, considering that that decision was an error, that I made an error. So I'm kind of if you make an error like Moz says, and shout out to Moz, he went on a live stream and he acknowledged that he done a mistake and probably didn't think too much about it.
I think it was another podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, another podcast, yeah, and he acknowledged, and we expect the same thing, just not for the riders, but the whole complete package of the IBC, which is the promoters, the judges, and everyone. So something should come explanatory, as Moss did with this mistake, to come through. The only thing that I see is one thing that. So I'm putting myself in the shoes of the judges and trying to justify to the public. One thing that I see is first and second on that, it determined where you'll go into the next round. So probably that's the only thing that the rules are not too clear about, and it's something that it's not talked about in the rules. If that would make a change, and that's why the old resurf was done. So that's one possible excuse, but they haven't heard it. The other one that I see here on the 9.9 judging criteria, where unforeseen circumstances occur with respect to competition, which is a pretty global thing, which includes, but it's not limited to priority and timing. So there we go, a lot of things still. A resolution, which may include a resurf. This is the first time I listen resurfing this 9.9 rule, will be determined by ATT World Tour events. I don't even know what this means. If someone can go to the rule book and translate, it would be very helpful, because I don't know what it means, the end part. Other rule in that 9.9 that talks about a resurf, the only other rule that talks about a resurf, it's this one, and I think it's the one that should be applied as justification. A judging, scoring, or read result, this is what happened, was an error of judging, which altered the score and the it result. True, so we're there. I think this is the decision that we can base ourselves. I at least hope that's the explanation from the IBC. It result decision once made may only be changed if, in the opinion of the judging panel, there is enough evidence to consider a re-evaluation. What happened on this first part of this rule? Did the judge panel decided to redo the surf or not? But it looks like it's the opinion of the judge panel to start with. So that's one explanation that is due to every single rider that is affiliated to the IBC, so they can understand what they are dealing with in terms of rules. The judging rule continues and says a resurf, another time resurf is mentioned, that's what happened, or a score change may be considered by that judging panel at the time. So the judges could decide the resurf that was said in the previous part and the score change. They could alter the score based on the wave that I do believe that someone told me that the judges were able to see. So the next part of the rule is the head judge as the authority. Now it changes, not the panel judge, the head judge as the authority to call a reserve without the involvement of competitors in the heat, but it being told to us that they meet with the riders. Even so, the head judge without the riders can decide something. It's here. And if it's deemed appropriate by the head judge, of course, the IBC head judge is to decide, and this is the most important part, who should be involved in the reserve, if applicable, and when the reserve may occur. The head judge can delay the start of the next heat or round while a decision is being made. So, this is like gray zone. We have black and white in the rules, but then when it applies to this specific situation, we have a gray zone. And the only excuse I would like to hear, and it would be the last scapegoat for at least the panel of judges concerning the rule we just read, is that they or either decided to run the reserve or score the wave when it's not enough, or are stuck with that particular point is because if maybe Jonathan Vega gets first, also Steph would get second and would still advance. That's why we consider that at least Steph Cocorel is one. But then it would make a difference into the next round. That's the only plausible loop here for the judges in this rule. Apart from that, we're discussing the head judge is to decide. So looks like he decided because it's his own decision to be made. If the judge panel didn't decide to reserve, like we heard, they didn't decide to reserve, but this is just rumors. And the head judge can decide who is to be involved. And this is the part that I've been defending the most in the social network without attacking anyone. I'm not in favor of Cocorellis because he's Portuguese, or Mikel, or Vega, or Amori. I'm all in favor of what's fair. And there's like facts. And one, Cocorelli is one that hit. And the worst case scenario, you would get second, even if Vega got that 10-point wave, like you said. Mikel would be knocked out, and Amori was already knocked out. So I would take Amori out of the question, not to be involved in the reserve, because
It wouldn't have made
yeah,
a difference.
it wouldn't make a difference. And so it's either between Mikel and Vega alone. That was my first opinion. Or it should involve the other three and say, hey, one of you is not advancing because something could have happened. But still, Mikel got all of his wave scores, so he's stuck at some overall score top. It still leaves Cocorelli's on top. So what do you do here? And like you said, and you put it really well, Jackson. If something is wrong, we need to expose this and have the rule changed, like situations that happened in the past. I remember the world title in 2013. Ben Player was with the same points as Amori, and there was a rule in the rule book that gave the world title to Ben because he had a higher ranking in the previous year. But then that rule changed, you know? And as we go, we are learning. And I do believe that Huss, you, Steven Action, Manny, you guys were the first voices of the world bodyboarding competition scene, live stream scene. You were the pioneers of the thing. And you guys with the Book Live podcast, 320 episodes, it's ridiculous. You do so much for the community, still have a voice. And I do believe that as we mature and have the experience, we should share it with the younger ones, even with the IBC, which is a younger entity ruling the World Tour, and let them know what we think about this and help them solve occurring future problems.
So, I mean, it really comes down to is like, okay, a decision was made. Why was it made? And what, I mean, why was, we just want to know why was the decision made and why did they think it was
basis.
fair? And because if Coco didn't show up for his heat, why didn't he? And what was the reason behind that? And we want to hear it from the judges because the judges told him and he didn't like it, so he didn't show up. So I think that's what it comes down to is what was the main reason, who made the decision, and why did they think that was that was fair?
I feel like the situation still warrants a little more discussion and clarification, but I'm a firm believer of something that applies to all aspects of life, whether you're talking about your personal life or in this case, the world tour and competition. You know, learn from your mistakes. The past is in the past, learn from it and move forward. Make sure it doesn't happen again.
And I mean, we all know Chico, and I'm pretty sure he probably lost a few hours of sleep, probably a few nights of sleep, trying to figure out if the right decision was made. I mean, he's one of the guys that, always has the riders back. But at the same time, it's like, okay, if you're gonna make these tough decisions, make them, but have a solid reason to make them. And I think he's I don't know. We'd love to hear from him.
Did he make a decision? Because the rule says
We
that
don't
the
know.
panel of judges can do the decision, and the head judge has the authority to make that decision.
Exactly. So we don't
Uh,
know. That's
Yeah.
Again,
the
I feel like there needs to be a little bit more clarification and understanding before it gets put to rest and, you know, actions are taken to make sure it doesn't happen again. Because you're talking about, how Chico probably lost a few nights' sleep. In the words of one of our friends and a bodyboard judge, Kevin Opie Broadley, this is a judge's worst nightmare.
Yeah, yeah, and unfortunately, there was a handful of people that also took part of that perfect storm. I mean, here you have somebody who is the writer's rep and now getting, pinned to the wall with a lot of accusations that may or may not be true, but definitely that's going to be hurting them mentally and probably physically in the end.
All I
So,
can say is steps need to be taken to assure that this does not happen again. History cannot be
100%.
allowed to repeat itself. And if it means amending the rule book, so be it.
Yeah, yeah, I
But
agree. So,
obviously
mate,
there's a problem, there's a disconnect. It needs to be fixed. And like I said, we all need to move on so that this never happens again.
amen to that. I'll reach out once the event is over. I'll reach out to those involved and see if we can get them on the podcast and just to hear their side of the story. I mean, I it just left a big wide void in the rule book, and that just needs to be tightened up.
Yeah, we all work in events and it's super busy. Everything happens super fast. But by coincidence, we had a couple of lay days, and it could have blew the steam off a little bit of this pressure pot that was going on. And if it doesn't, like you say, Jackson, if it's not corrected or clarified, it opens a huge Pandora box and a lot of questions regarding the rules that these athletes are competing in may be put in cause because foul play and then is easy to do because then we push out moralities. For example, let's see a scenario. Would someone that got a third or fourth place on a heat realize that the first of the second lost, the judges lost one of his wives and go complain and say the heat is not correct? And probably the panel of judges would say to him, but you lost already. Why you're complaining? It wouldn't make a difference to you. And then puts Amori in this morality spot. And right now is, like you said, Manny's pinned to the wall, taking all the blame. And it's really sad to see that the entity that represents bodyboarding competitively worldwide wouldn't come out in a defense of a former world champion, an exquisite competitor, is an example worldwide for the bodyboarding community, not through competition, his camps, his books, his training and dedication is,
I
and
don't think he's taking the full brunt of it.
yeah.
I think he's getting a pretty good chunk of it.
How come the entity that represents you and he represents the entity through the riders as a rider rep is left, in the gutter taking all the blame without like a clarification and saying, hey, this is what happened. You stop blaming this and that because then we do not have a wealthy environment. I can't remember, of course, we're living now in social days, but I can't remember a time that was so much hate going on and people defending on side and one side and we're losing the focus of what this is it is like making a friendly environment and a welcoming environment for athletes worldwide to come and compete fairly to each and every one. And there's the brightest rep to maintain the link between the organizations. And yeah, Amori was there. And then there's all of these bodies, the judge panel, the head judge, the promoter of the event, the director of the event, and the IBC itself. Why does not anyone come forward and ease the storm and then make us concentrate on what's in hand, a world title? Everyone is super busy. No one wants to make
Well,
mistakes anymore moving forward, and it's crazy.
let's just hope that they are not hoping that we all forget and brush it aside. Let's just
No, it
hope
should
that's
not
not
be
what's
forgotten.
happening.
It should, like I said,
Yeah.
learn from it, move forward, but don't forget. Do not allow history to repeat itself. You know, Nunito, you alluded to it a little bit a couple minutes ago. You know, there's some gray area here. And when there's gray area, there are, the smallest of oversights can become a major problem. And in this case, it has.
Yeah, so let's just hope that they are talking, currently talking to try to fill that void and try to figure out how this doesn't happen again. Number one, the easiest fix is do what you have to do to make sure that spotter is spotting. That is top number one priority. It is a tough job. Every job related with a bodyboarding event is tough, but you can't let your guard down on that particular one because somebody will know you missed a wave. Um, but that is number one. Number two is like, what are they going to do now? Like, what are they going to do to remedy the problem at hand and how it doesn't happen again? That's what it's coming down to. I mean, we're now repeating ourselves, but
But it's crazy.
we need to figure that out.
Imagine this scenario: I lose an eat, and I make up the story because I'm a blunt liar, and I make the story that, hey, you didn't see a wave of mine. And then, no, you got six waves, surf six waves. No, I surfed one wave. It's not even on live stream. Go get it. It's not my fault. Resurf it, please.
Mhm.
You know, this is the Pandora box that they opened, and it cannot be allowed to open further because then
That's
foul play can come into
yeah.
competition. And then, yes, we need to change rules to make sure that that's not allowed or
Let's
even think about. It's crazy.
let's
Now,
see if
now,
we can.
mind you, the scenario he's giving is a harsh possibility. We're not saying anybody's a blatant liar or, anything like that. But as Nunito has said, this opens Pandora's box. You know, who's to say in the future somebody doesn't follow the blueprint for what happened here and uses it at another event to try and get a heat rerun just because they had a bad heat? You have to be
Yeah.
very careful. Again,
Scary.
Pandora's box, gray area, however you want to refer to it, something needs to be done to make sure this never happens again. We
All
keep
right. What?
reiterating this fact. We're beating a dead
Yeah.
horse at this point.
Exactly. We've said it maybe 4 or 5 times. So let's see. Once the Frontone event is done with, I'll reach out to those involved and see if they want to come on Book Live and just let us know what happened and what is going to happen, so this perfect storm doesn't happen again.
That will be awesome. And shout out to you guys in Book Life. This platform is available to do so. And if you want to use it for take time to make some explanations and clarify, oh, probably a lot of people are interested in that content.
I mean, the only question um, at hand, if we do get this group together, is what are you doing to prevent that from happening again? That's it. Because it
Yep.
happened. Uh, Details of it really, they know what those details are. What's going to happen? What are you going to do to fix it so it doesn't happen again? Because we don't want another Coco not showing up to a heat that he just won hands down. So so yeah, that's it. I'll keep you guys posted. Jackson, you got anything else?
No, that's it. I think we've made it pretty clear in our discussion today.
Yes, we did. All right, you guys. Jackson, sign us off.
All right. Well, there you have it. You know, normally we would have a video of the week or, weekly motivation. I'm just going to say what I said previously. The past is in the past, learn from it and move forward. With that said, we'll catch you next time around. Thank you again, Nunito, for joining us on this episode.
Pleasure.
And I look forward to seeing you in person one of these days. It's been way too long.
Exactly, my brother. If you come this way, mi casa su casa.
I appreciate that. Until the next time, we're out. You.
You.